You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to Volatility Views, the premier program for volatility traders. Each week, we'll take a deep dive into the world of volatility with in-depth analysis, trading activity reviews, strategy breakdowns, cutting-edge education, and much more. We'll also bring you exclusive conversations with the traders, researchers, and asset managers who are reshaping the volatility landscape. If it involves volatility, then you'll find it on Volatility Views. Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. Unlike some guys, Tasty Trade puts traders first. Maybe you're the type to hunker down on your desktop for hours. Maybe you breeze by on your browser. Or maybe you just need that top-rated app right by your side. However you do it, Tasty Trade's got the advanced tools you need to tackle stocks, options, futures, and more, all in one place. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. See opportunity differently with interactive curve analysis. Use backtesting to learn from the past and plan for the future. The platform is only the beginning of better trading. You'll also find low pricing, lots of education, and backup from a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. And now, it's time to take a deep dive into the world of volatility. It's time for Volatility Views.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is Friday. It is noon Central. It is 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you've been waiting for a little vol to enjoy with your morning edition of the show, well then, today is your Huckleberry. Should be a fun one. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which all of you are binging. Just a reminder here at the top of the show, if you're not listening to the full podcast network, wherever you're getting your favorite shows, you are missing out on quite a bit of other content coming at you. So make sure you're subscribed to the full network. And of course, if you're ready to go above and beyond, you want to join us for the official after party of all things vol views, known as Options Oddities, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Been some wild stuff going up out there. A lot of you folks on the pro have been sending in your ideas, your trades, all sorts of fun. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. As we go around the horn to see who's joining us this week. First, beaming in from enemy territory. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say his location. I will let him reveal it. But our good buddy, Mr. Dr. Vix, normally beaming in from his usual stomping grounds at Indiana University, this time going across town, hanging with the enemy, sir. Mr. Rhoads, welcome to the show, and where are you beaming in from?
I am in West Lafayette, Indiana at Purdue University.
The evil empire.
I am working on something with in one of Mark Sebastian's favorite people in the world, Dr. Larissa Miller /Ademiak. I'm sitting in her office. She's at Purdue.
You got to go to the Tippecanoe restaurant.
Oh, I've been to the Tippecanoe restaurant. I have been here like every week for the last 4 weeks because my kid's here as well.
Tippecanoe is one of my favorite places in West Lafayette.
It's one of the. If you're still around here, you'd be sending your kids to the camp right by here as well, wouldn't you? That's what just about everybody in the western suburbs does.
Yeah.
So I'm at Purdue. And actually, I've been told to keep the volume down because they don't want me disturbing other professors.
Oh, well, there we go. They don't know this show.
You know how I get it.
This show is pretty raucous. They don't know what they're dealing with here. And speaking of raucous and loud and or tinny voices, we are joined once again by the greasiest of meatballs, Mr. Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. Mr. Meatball, what did you do to my market? You broke it, sir.
Oh, my science. What a... I'm sitting here, I'm playing, I've just legged into some bull butterflies and 0 DTE, and I look at my charts and I go, what just happened? Because we went from up 17 to down 40 like that.
Blink of an eye. Blink of an eye. All right, listeners, we will get there post haste because it is time for the volatility review.
It's time to break down the latest developments in the volatility trading world. It's time for the Volatility Review.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Volatility Review, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading, what is lighting up our screens. And as I alluded to earlier, our chat's they're fast. They're already blaming Frank Frank didn't break the market. I already discovered that it was the meatball who broke the market. What are we talking about? We got a lot of action on the screen. If you were waiting for the day, we were talking about it over a week ago on the network, listeners. Of course, the day the shutdown started, people were waiting. Maybe this might weigh on the market a little bit. And sure enough, the answer was nope. Whistling past the graveyard, rallying 1/4 to 0.5% pretty much every day post shutdown. Even today, as Meatball alluded to, we started off the day looking pretty green, looking pretty firm. And it seemed like it was going to be another one of those days where markets rally and vols getting smoked into the end of the week. And then lo and behold, kind of on a dime, which again, that's the market we're all living through, listeners. It is a tweet by tweet market. And apparently the tweet came in that Trump called off his meeting with Xi, and that sent everybody into a tizzy. As we're kicking off the show here, S&P off 1.5%. So we were up firmly in the green, now swinging to the red, off 1.5%. NASDAQ off exactly 2%. And the Dow off about little over 1.25% out there. So a lot of red on the screen, a big swing. We are back below 6,700 in the S&P, off over 100 handles right now, 6,630. I'll have to pull up, see how low we got intraday. Our old buddy VIX Cash, if you've been waiting for something to happen post shutdown in either direction, particularly to the upside, you're a bit of a happy camper today. Well, maybe not so much. Maybe if you were busy for the last hour and change, then maybe you're not the happiest of campers, because once again, at least so far, the vol pop is short-lived. We saw VIX Cash getting frothy, getting spicy, getting up to about a 22 handle, almost 22.20, right before the show started. And then as we're kicking off the show now, once again, like clockwork, the vol fade is back in. We are back, still up to 20.25. That puts us up 4 handles. We haven't sniffed a 20 handle in forever in VIX Cash, but that's back down nearly 2 handles from the apex of just right before showtime, listeners. So all things are crazy, and I'm sure if you wait 5 minutes, we might see that change again. So yeah, it's been a wild one. Now it's like we're ticking back up again. VIX Cash, as we're talking, back up to about a 21 handle now. So we're kind of all over the place. Volley, as we kicked off the show, at about a 17. That is, of course, Scott Nation's Just the Facts, Ma'am edition. That's up 4 points. And our old pal VVIX, which has been signaling for a while, I guess you can call it unease, back up north of the par strike 112. As we kicked off the show, up about 18 points. I'm sure if I rack that now, it might even be higher. So things getting frothy. Let's go out to the Meatball, the man who single-handedly broke the market. Mr. Meatball, sir, walk us through that. You're out there, you're putting on some 0-day bull flies in the SPX. The second you hit clicks, I knew it. You broke the market, sir.
So we've been bumping up against S&P futures were bumping against 6,800. That had been a form of kind of resistance for all week. Right. And then, so I'm playing around and I say, I think we're going to break 6,800 today or in the future. So I set up like a nice little bull butterfly. I didn't pay anything for it. I was really happy with my fills. And then I go to type something. I look up and it's just one giant red candle. Just boom, boom.
You broke it. You did it.
Boom.
The second you thought that 6,800 in your head, that was it. There was nothing. Look out below.
What I meant 6,500, not 6,800.
I'm laughing because we've all been there. The second you hit click on the trade, you're like, oh my God, no. Oh, what have I done? Oh, get me out. At least you put it on for nothing, really. So that's a nice little do there. But yeah, wow, that's yeah, we've all been there, listeners. We can all laugh because we've all felt your pain. So aside from your complete and utter shock at the turnaround in the market, first off, we haven't talked to you, I don't think, since this whole shutdown thing began. So let's start there. What are your thoughts on the last week and a half of vol, or shall we say lack of vol, post shutdown, sir?
You know, I'm not surprised that we had, that this happened. Markets have mostly ignored it because these shutdowns tend to be kind of something of a who cares. But the longer this shuts down, and if we have employees and military people not getting their paycheck, that's when this could start turning into something. That would be a real. I think that's when markets start to say, "Hey, you guys are supposed to make a deal here, not play with people's livelihoods." And then we get this, and so markets kind of humming along, and then we get this China tweet, which was just a bizarre. It was bizarre, and did you read the whole thing? It was like
I did not. I was immediately distracted by the sea of red on my screen.
It was like a good 300 words, and it is like this long, drawn out tweet from Truth Social. And, it was funny. It was just like, this is a surprise. I can't believe this is coming. I can't believe the Chinese did this and that. And I am totally shocked. And one of my traders goes, does he look in the mirror when he writes this stuff? It was, like I said, it was a long and bizarre tweet.
Maybe that's what spooked the markets even more than just him doing it. Was just the perhaps somewhat bizarre and rambling nature of it. It doesn't do a lot to allay concerns, allay fears out there. We've been saying for a while now, we're living in this tweet.
The good news is we know Trump is not using AI to write his tweets.
Yes. Sometimes maybe a filter, an intermediary or two between him and the public. Maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing. Maybe day like today, exhibit A for that. But yeah.
Yeah, they needed to put an "Are you sure?" Like when when you try and send a trade.
Yes, they do.
Are you sure you want to do this? Then you have to send yes.
Need the confirmation
put that
button.
Into Truth Social.
Does this look good? Are you sure you like this? Hit yes. He'd just smack yes. We know. He wouldn't look it. Oh yeah. So a lot of stuff out here, listeners. As we keep dealing with the vast. That's what makes Vol Views on Fridays so fun, because this is the show where the most weird and wild stuff seems like it pops off. This is when, of course, it was during this show when we had Brexit madness, where we had Comey and his original investigation into Hillary back in the day, who's now being investigated himself. Man, that guy has been on quite the trajectory. But it seems like it all pops off during Vol Views, which is always fun. Mr. Rhoads, sir, as you're keeping it to hushed tones in enemy territory. Are you wearing a big IU sweatshirt as you're at Purdue? Oh, you are. Oh no, George Washington. What is that?
That's where my daughter goes.
Oh, so you're just being neutral territory.
I'm playing neutral. I'm wearing neither. Although I do have a Purdue shirt because my daughter goes here. But yeah, people can't see on camera. I'm wearing a quarter zip from George Washington University. So it's kind of, that's my way of being neutral.
Your money goes to Purdue, so you're allowed to be there, sir.
Oh, and my money goes to George Washington, too, and a lot more of it goes to George Washington than Purdue. But it's worth it, because if you turn on NBC right now, you can see my daughter in the background at the on the White House desk.
Oh,
on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. She's one of those little workers in the background. So far, George Washington is working out for us. I went to lunch and came back. That's my experience around this.
You missed the whole thing.
I went to lunch. I went to lunch at the hospitality school, which was actually a class where the students were learning how to run restaurants and stuff. And then came back here and was, oh wow, look, I'm feeling a little bit better about life, since I'm always seems to be leaning toward the short side. We're not getting into it quite yet, but because I jump ahead a little bit. But people are monetizing this thing. you're really seeing a lot of monetizing type trades. So I don't think there's a lot of belief that this is going to be that there's going to be follow through on this, and that can work both ways. It can, a lot of folks go ahead and take the profits from having long calls, et cetera, which I just seems to be a lot of those going on right now. And if we get the second leg, going to be a lot of people that are upset that they monetize too early. But that's always the most difficult part of trading volatility, right there, is trying to figure out when to walk away and go over to the bar and watch the showgirls.
That is the challenge, right? Because 99 times out of 100, you have to hit that bid as soon as possible. And then that one time, the one time that pays for the house in Cancun or whatever, is the one time you need to keep some powder dry for. And it's very difficult because you see that juicy bid there, and it's going to go away in 5 seconds if you don't hit it. Yes, that is the challenge involved. Even today, it looks like it's getting a little bit firmer again, but the initial vol spike, people faded the hell out of that, as you mentioned, doing the monetizing. And so they've learned from the past as prologue. Now, you're right. If we get that second leg up and now we start trending, north of 22 in VIX cash and stuff, then it might be interesting out there. Speaking of interesting, let's get out to the land of the VIX futures, which is almost on a day like today, listeners, just a fool's errand. The futures are whipping all over the place. The term structures are whipping all over the place. Trying to take a snapshot of it and break it down for you folks in some sort of condensed, digestible format is kind of madness, but we will endeavor to do so nonetheless. As of right now, listeners, spoiler alert, that front portion of the curve getting a little bit juicier again, getting a little bit frothy. We were saying for a while, the cash and the OCC future, it was closing. The chasm was closing, but it was still there. And now we see the front portion of the curve getting juicy again, getting almost backward. And so as a result, that chasm has closed quite a bit. It's only about 0.4 of a point now between the cash and the OCC future. The OCC future is up over 2 points, about 2 3/4 points. I'm sure if I rack that right now, it would be some other completely wild number. And the no future about exactly a point below that, up 1.7 points out there. You might be saying, okay, so is this shock being felt throughout the rest of the curve? And right now, if we go all the way out to June of next year, so halfway into next year, I think the highest we get looks like is about a 22.20 in that April-May timeframe of next year. So we're a little bit loftier, but nothing crazy. Again, maybe getting back to Russell's point from earlier that people seem like they're aggressively monetizing that. If that's going to stay the same for the rest of the day, we'll see. But right now, folks have learned, past his prologue, they take the first pop and they get the heck out of Dodge. Mr. Rhoads, sir, we'll go back around the horn the other way. What are your thoughts on this ever-evolving vol surface today, sir?
The thing that's kind of standing out to me a bit is December not moving nearly as much as November. I mean, you generally wouldn't expect that. But we might be seeing an opportunity here because December is not doing the normal thing that it normally does with the kink. And we have determined on this show that we think the reason behind that is because Powell's last meeting is a week before December expiration. And that, and there's just so much uncertainty associated with that. That we're not seeing the normal seasonality that I've made a career out of talking about with the December at a discount and answering that question. In fact, November and December are basically within a nickel of each other right now. So might be a bit of an opportunity to short that November. If I were going to fade this move, not take profits, but fade this move, I think that's how I would be doing it. I think I'd be looking at short in November. October goes off the board next week. So take a look at shorting November and maybe long December. I got a pretty, and I hadn't had a chance to answer it yet, but I did get an email from somebody that saw a video where I was talking about calendar spreads years ago and asked me why in the world would anybody buy the front month and short the second month? Because if we get the spike, you're gonna lose on that short. And it's because you are benefiting from that, the deterioration in the value of the VIX futures, and you're offsetting some of that if you don't get the spike that you're hoping for. October's up a point more, about 220 more than November right now. So if you were using the calendar spread just to have something on in case we got a move like this, you are one happy freaking camper. for sure.
Yeah, VIX is one of the few products where that kind of reverse calendar, it's not really a use case for it in most products. Most brokers will margin the hell out of you if you go short the long end. So it's not really viable for a lot of retail. But in VIX, you're right. It can make a certain modicum of sense. Mr. Meatball, sir, what is catching your eye in the ever-evolving world of VIX futures?
Yeah, to Russell's point, the VIX, the index itself, really waking up today. The biggest trade we've got today, though, was after that big pop. A trader came in. They own a lot of the October 20 and 30 calls and the 35s. The biggest trade of the day was this was tied to futures. A trader unloaded on the 35 calls in October. And so that I know we'll talk options here a little bit, but makes me wonder, okay, is this kind of a one-off event? We've got kind of partial backwardation. The VIX is exactly in line with November. October is trading just below November, and that front end of the curve is really, really flat. But then behind that, things are still really flat, but at a significant premium between kind of what we see in January relative to October, November, and December. But we get one more leg down. October is going to wake up real fast.
Speaking of October waking up, looks like that trade we talked about yesterday, the upside in VIX, the OC upside trade of the week out here. We'll get to that in a little bit, listeners. Let's get out to the land of VIX options now. And as the Meatball alluded to, VIX options waking up. They were already at roughly a little north of 500,000 when we started the show, piling on another 500,000 since then. We are now over 1 million contracts, 1.05 million contracts in VIX options. Been a little while since we sniffed 1 million contracts in VIX. Post-Fed, it's kind of been a bit of a dark time volume-wise. Looks like today is the day some folks have been waiting for, and a lot of that piling in just since we started the show. So a lot of action to sink our teeth into. That ADV, 629,000. That's down 101,000 from this time last week. It's spoiler alert, it's going to go back up now, but interesting how low that got, just how light VIX volume has been outside of today. Going out to the land of the top 10, what is open for size in VIX land? Right now, heading into today, it was still 7-3 calls over puts. We'll see if today's paper changes that, but right now we're still hanging out 7-3. Cost you 190,000 contracts to break into the top 10 right now. That gets us to the Nov 25s, listeners. So kicking them off with a strike that seemed a bit out there even this morning, and now is looking pretty decent. Number 9, 204,000 of our old pal. These are looking out there now. The Nov 15 puts. How much money has gone to die? We need to do a study on that. How much money has gone to die on 15 puts in VIX this year across every month? Spoiler alert, it's been a lot. Number 8, 210,000 of the OC 15 half puts, so a little bit meatier there. Number 7, 210,000 of the Jan 60, so right back to the upside fund. Number 6, 210 of the OC 16 puts. Number 5, 240 of the OC 25s. Number 4, 241,000 of the Feb 47 halves. Number 3, 255,000 of the OC 35s. Number 2, 265,000 of the Nov 47 halves. And the big dog still in VIX land, been hanging out there for a little bit, 285,000 of the D60s. Nothing can dethrone them. Well, maybe we'll find out. Maybe something's going up today that will kick it to the curb, because it is time for Russell's Weekly Rundown.
Now, Russell's Weekly Rundown.
Mr. Rhoads, I bet you it's a hot one. People are monetizing fast and furious out there today. What is catching your eye in VIX Weekly Options, sir?
They did all that monetizing when I was at lunch, so I don't really, I'm kidding. Monday, VIX at 1661. We had somebody buy 500 of the October 15th 20 calls and sell 500 of the 30 calls that expire next week. Paid 35 cents for that. Very nice, cheap spike trade. I hope they're monetizing that. And then also somebody bought 200 with VIX at 1670 on Monday. Somebody bought 200 of the November 5th 30 calls for 55 cents, which I'll bet you can sell for more than that now. and they sold 200 of the 50 calls at 19 cents. Total cost there of 36 cents. Kind of a cheap spike trade. You know, if they haven't done anything with it yet, that's something I'd love to see. You know, and I always refer to spot VIX with these shorter dated trades because I just think it makes an awful lot of logic, partially due to the illiquidity in the futures that are associated with them, but also just there's not a whole lot of difference between the two when you're relatively close to expiration. But I would assume if I had done that trade, and I could maybe get out of the 30 calls for $1 or so, I would consider doing that, and then I would buy the 70 or the 80 or the 90 calls and just let those 50 calls die on the vine. If I could do that, I would flip it around. But if I had to, if my risk guy says you can't be short those 50 calls without something covering it, I would flip that trade around like that. Then monetize and reorganize. On Tuesday with VIX at 1745, like it matters. Somebody bought 5,000 of the VIX October 8th, and this is kind of like midday, so not a lot of time left. On Tuesday, apparently they thought that Trump was going to tweet on Tuesday.
Yeah,
not
I think they got the message a little early.
Yeah, hey, Trump's going to say this. The open interest was only 373 before, so this was an opening trade.
Man,
but they bought 5,000 of the October 8th, 28 calls to pay 2 cents for them.
This would have been a banger today.
Would have been a banger today. So they thought something was happening I'll guarantee somebody thought something was going to happen overnight. I just can't think of any other reason that you would do something like that. Then on Wednesday, with VIX at 1670, and I saw this trade on Wednesday in the afternoon and then early Thursday as well. So good for them. But a lot more action in the November options than you would think. Maybe just people want to get full exposure in the November 5th options. People want to get full exposure for October. Somebody sold 200 of the November 5th 17 calls. They bought 20 calls. They took in a 92-cent credit, got a 208 risk. Not feeling very good about that. Did the same trade on Thursday morning as well, 400 times with an 85-cent credit. And then, the trade that we're always talking about with weeklies, or an awful lot with weeklies. On Thursday, somebody with VIX between 1680 and 1686, somebody bought 1,800 of the VIX October 15th 19 puts for $1.70. The break even on that 1730. They did that in a big sweep order. So they were being sort of aggressive on it, but they had a little bit of a cushion, past tense, a little bit of a cushion between VIX and the break even on that one. And then this morning, when I went to lunch, there were 4 block trades on my Bloomberg screen using VIX weeklies. When I came back, there were 102. Because I have this thing where I export them all and I go through them and everything. So I redid Friday just to see what was going on. But the trade that I talked about this morning, somebody is not happy about this with VIX at 1643. Somebody bought 100 of the October 15th 28 puts for 1065. And I know, we've talked about the merits of going deep in the money when you're trying to do trades like this. Hopefully next week, maybe VIX will come back down a bit for them.
Let's hope he went 2-to-1 futures against his puts.
Yeah. And then just going through a big portion of the trades in the last hour or so using VIX weeklies. I kept talking about these November trades. It's all October 15th. It's, the last one I see is somebody selling a little over 300 of the 20 calls for $1.22. There are some people that are buying puts. Got somebody coming in here buying about 400, actually exactly 400 of the October 15th puts with VIX just over 20, and they paid 8 cents for them. Maybe they're covering a short. I hope they're covering a short there. And a fade trade that I saw, somebody sold 100 of the November 12th 30 calls for $1 and bought the 80 calls for 19 cents. They took in 81 cents, and they're good as long as VIX manages to remain below 30. So some people fading the move a bit. I just see 20 call, 20 call, 20 call, 20 call. October 15th, 20 calls, just lots of different block trades in there. And it looks mostly like they're selling.
Makes sense. That is the strike out there, du jour to the upside. We've talked about this for a while. People throw a lot of capital at these meaty puts in VIX, and I'm always deeply uncomfortable. And today is Exhibit A of why I don't. I'm assuming they got a boatload of futures or something else against that. Otherwise, they're just
hope so.
They're just throwing money to the vol gods at this. There's so many ways you could express that viewpoint without that massive capital intensity. It just makes me deeply uncomfortable to see that, listeners, as we keep on rolling. VIX is clearly uncomfortable today because they continue to put up numbers. It has gone up to about 1.11 million out there now since even Russell was talking out there. So paper flying fast and furious. As the meatball alluded to, the hot option out there in VIX land today, and one of the spicier trades of the week pretty much out here is these OC35s. As the meatball alluded to, somebody unloading them against futures, perhaps 97,000 of them going up so far for 42 cents out there, listeners. Kind of an intriguing one. You like those? Are you a buyer at this level? Would you be sold to you on these listeners? OC35s for 42 cents, which, again, spoiler alert, is almost exactly the same price we were talking about for the OC22s yesterday. So just bear that in mind. We'll get there in a second. Number 2, 43,000 of the OC20s. Mr. Rhoads' favorite strike there, $1.52. So yeah, a lot of people monetizing those. Those are quite a bit more than they were yesterday. 42,000 of the 15 half puts. I guess the bright side of this, if you expect a aggressive vol crash, 15 half, that seems like a bridge too far to me. But hey, if you want them 4 cents, all you can eat, listeners. Number 4, 36,000 of the 16 half puts. Maybe that's a little bit more in your wheelhouse. Those are going up for 20 cents today. And then number 5 today, 34,000 of the 18 puts. Again, even those, a fairly meaty strike. 55 cents for those bad boys. So maybe you like those. Maybe some of those intrigue you. Yesterday, the hot option out there, as I alluded to, the OC22s. OC22s went up nearly 40,000 times yesterday for 46 cents. Spoiler alert, that was a good do. We put it out to our audience yesterday. We said, hey, you like these? At the time yesterday, we were talking about how, 22 by next week seems like it's a bit of a heavy lift. And then, of course, Trump comes along and says, I'll take that action. So, yeah, the 22s for 46 cents. Over half of you, 56.5%, wanted to buy them. That was clearly the right choice in hindsight. 43.5% said no. And the over half of you that wanted to buy them, you can get out of them for over a 3x right now. They were trading for around $1.50 not too long ago. So not bad. 3x in the span of about a day or so out there. Not a bad do, as the kids say. So that was clearly the right answer. Buy all that upside. Number 2, 28,000 of the Nove 24s. These were going up for $1.34. Spoiler alert, those are pretty good as well, even though it looks like those were overwritten yesterday. So I think someone could have been bailing on those. Number 3, 23,000 of the Nove 15 puts. Again, the strike where money just goes to die. 18 cents for those bad boys, if you're wondering. Number 4, 20,000 of the Nove 20s. Only $2, $2.06 for those. Seems like a bargain in hindsight. And number 5, 15,000 of the Nove 18 puts for $1.42. Wednesday, 658,000 contracts on the tape. The hot option out there, 28,000 of the OC35. So again, that 35 strike's been popular for a while. By the way, 14 cents for those on Wednesday, and they are bailing on them today for 42 cents. So again, not a bad little do, as the kids say out there. Number 2, 28,000 of the Nove 30s. Number 3, 27,000 of the Nove 25s. I think we had some vertical action going up there, 25 30. Looks like it was for around 35 cents, somewhere in that ballpark. Number 4, 26,000 of the Nove 16 puts. And number 5, 25,000 of the Nove 60s. Again, back to that 60 strike that somebody is just fixated on. Tuesday, 732,000. So until today, it was the banger day of the week. 32,000 of the OC 16 half puts was the big dog. They were trading for 39 cents on Tuesday. Spoiler alert, you can get all you want for much less today if you're interested. Number 2, 27,000 of the OC22s, 52 cents for those on Tuesday as well. Again, those trading about 3x that now. Number 3, 27,000 of the OC35s. Those were only 15 cents. Spoiler alert, those are doing better as well. Number 4, 25,000 of the OCK 26s, and number 5, 21,000 of, again, the OCK 15 puts. Those are still going up for 6 cents on Tuesday. Monday, 500,000 contracts, almost exactly. The big dog, 20,000 of the October 16 puts, followed by number 2, 19, almost 20,000 of the OCK 60s. Now, these were closing. Somebody decided to take their nickel and get the heck out of Dodge about 20,000 times because they got them off for about a nickel. Number 3, 19,000 as well of the OCK 15 puts. These went up for about 8, 9 cents. Also closing there, so maybe some folks deciding discretion is the better part of valor on the extreme wings of the vol curve. Number 4, 14,000 of the Nove 16 puts. And number 5, about 12,000 of the Nove doubles. If you're wondering what's the Nove 55 going for on Monday, 31 cents. And spoiler alert, more than that now. Mr. Meatball, we talked about the OCK 35s today. Looking like a pretty aggressive dump. They've been trading actively all week, so maybe some folks loading up on them, getting the heck out of Dodge. Aside from that, sir, anything else catching your eye in the world of VIX options this week?
Yeah, it's almost like these guys saw it coming because all week, not in huge size, but we were seeing 5,000, 10,000, accumulations of October calls. And that kind of surprised me because I had been talking about how there was this complete, and I'm sure you guys talked about it last week, the total break in negative correlation between the S&P and the VIX leading up to today. Pretty shocking, right? And what do I mean by that? All right, well, let's go back a month. And 1 month ago, the VIX was 1498. It closed 1498. Yesterday, leading into this, the VIX was 1643. Over that same period of time, the S&P had gone from 6550 up to 67, a high of 6760 and a close of 6730. We rallied almost 200 handles, and the VIX was up almost 2 points. That is weird and kind of shows that there was some sort of underlying fears floating around this market. And, people like me, I look at that weird correlation break. I want to fade it, right? So I'm talking to a couple of my friends, and they're not having a great day. Thankfully, I had other things against it. So my VIX puts that are absolutely getting just demolished are not, game-changingly bad for me. But the people like me were looking and saying, this is a fade. We're going to calm down and VIX will pull back. And no, apparently not. So a day like today, you got to monetize. If you were buying those, all week, you've got to take your money today. October doesn't have a lot of time. You can leave some on, but
you're right. We did see, you're right. Kind of quiet accumulation all week of those 35s and some others, the 22s, obviously. It did seem like there was some smatterings of upside sprinkling in, which we didn't really see a ton of last week. We saw people fading it to the downside, and that obviously didn't come to pass either. I know your buddy, the Rock Lobster, was lamenting. He loaded up, I know, on a bunch of VIX puts. I think there were the 17 puts and some others. And I think on the show, I told him, I said, watch out, paying any hefty premium for VIX right now, especially downside, seemed like a tough road. And that's been rough. That's been a rough one out there of late. Let's keep going. Let's see if any of our vol ETPs, how they are performing in this market, listeners. And spoiler alert, it's a banger, especially for some of them. We'll get out to inverse vol land first because this is our first time sub 20 handle for a while in SVIX, down to about a 1935 right now. So continuing to tick down about 1.8 points from where it was this time last week. We were saying, I think last time you were on a couple of weeks ago, Mark, that it was a good time to overwrite SVIX when it was right around the 21.5 level. I'm pleased to say I have been aggressively overwriting it pretty much ever since, and it has been a good do. You're right, but coming in a little bit today, 1935 out there, putting up 9,000 contracts today though. So that's the first time we've seen close to 10,000 contracts going up in SVIX in a while. It's struggled to find any flow. In fact, the ADV continues to drop down to about 4,000. Mr. Meatball, what have you been up to in the land of inverse land, sir?
Yeah, I have this hedge with October calls in VIX itself, and I love the over that you were overwriting because it was screaming overwrite me. It's down 9% today on this big VIX move. It's going to be it'll be interesting to see whether there's follow through on this move. This could be sub 15 by Friday if we get a little follow through on this.
Yeah, it's been interesting out there. Mr. Rhoads, same question for you. What's catching your eye in the world of inverse vol, which I know you're just loaded up to the gills on now?
Well, we're still in sort of a contango, so I feel kind of good about adding to SVIX today. Really, just for a longer term type of trade. I think this will be the first weekend I don't do that UVIX trade.
It's already priced in. You don't want to catch the downside on it.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you why. And gosh, I hate, I'm almost always wrong when I second guess things I'm supposed to do systematically. But Monday is a goofy holiday for us. It's that Columbus Day is a bank holiday. The bond market won't be doing a whole lot. Stock market's open. The option market's open. But maybe less liquidity, and we get more bearish news over the weekend. It makes it even worse. But I just with half of the financial markets closed on Monday in the U.S., I don't really feel like I'm going to miss out on much. I say that UVIX will double over the weekend.
That's the signal you've been waiting for, listeners. Go load up.
Me fading myself?
Yes, go load up. It's like Mark hitting the buy button on that 0 DTE fly, just absolutely killed the market. You just unleashed a whole bunch of UVIX now. Go buy it, listeners. Speaking of UVIX, almost a 12 right now, 1185, up nearly 2 points, up 1.85 points. It was hanging out at exactly a 10 on the show last week, putting up nearly 100,000 contracts today. So UVIX getting active. The ADV is 36,000. That one, that's unchanged. But what's really caught my eye right now is a product we don't talk about a lot. UVXY trading about a 12 right now, so popping 1.5 handles from last week. But the volume, listeners, UVXY, that's kind of its one strength, is it's very liquid. But we're talking some numbers in UVXY today. Its ADV is right around 100,000, 96,000. That's up 3,000. Doing over 3.5 times that already today. 350,000 contracts. So folks are just lighting it up out there in UVXY today. So if you're asking people, how are people playing this move? They're obviously playing VIX, and they're obviously playing a ton of UVXY. Looking right now, the hot option out there today, 27,000. And we know UVXY folks like to play really fast and loose on expiration day with a lot of at-the-money stuff, and that's pretty much what we're seeing. The new at-the-money strike of 12, about 27,000 of those have gone up. If you're wondering, average price for those about 27 cents. So they need UVXY to hang out here or a little bit higher heading into the close. We got the 12s going out next week, about 25,000 of those bad boys. And then we've got the 11s going up about 24,000 times. Those are expiring today. Those trading for average price of about 45 cents. So those are looking pretty good right now. If folks were loading up on those. Then we got the 16s, 15,000 of those expiring next week. Those going for 25 cents. 16, that's an interesting one. And then number 5, 13,000 of the 12 halves also expiring today. These going up for 15 cents today as well. Again, that's all opening paper and a lot more besides, listeners. So folks are clearly slinging some UVXY. Is that you? On a day like today, are you diving into UVXY? Do you like playing that roll the at-the-money dice game in UVXY that so many people seem to like? Because clearly it's lighting up again. 16s, that would be pretty wild if we hit a 16 handle. Let me look really quickly. How high did we get? Obviously, UVXY is the neutered flavor, listeners. So we're pretty much 12, looks like about 1240 today was the high. So again, it's the neutered flavor. So 16 and UVXY by next week, that'd be pretty spicy. Mr. Meatball, I know we say a lot of mean things about UVXY because it is a neutered UVIX, but 350,000 contracts cannot be wrong, sir. That's a lot of flow.
That's the one good thing about, like you said, about UVXY is that the options are super liquid. You can get it in and out. I wish UVIX was that liquid.
Oh, how amazing would that be?
Much better product. It would be incredible. So, I get why people are using UVXY to express their opinion because they want the liquidity. And that is working very well to the ProShare's benefit. UVIX isn't that sleepy though. They're going to cross 100,000 contracts today. And volume in UVIX is 60 million contracts. So UVIX is doing about triple its normal ADV, and the stock is doing 4x. So there's some action in UVIX.
No, 100,000 is definitely respectable. I just UVXY jumping off the page. Mr. Rhoads, is this enough flow to lure you to
the 100?
Is this enough flow to lure you to the dark side of UVXY, Mr. Rhoads?
No.
You might get that noise off my screen.
Nah. I just, I'm just really, man, I'm struggling. I'm gonna be struggling with this thought right up to the close. What should I do?
The thought of your UVIX?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I'm just struggling there, but I'm not going to UVXY instead.
If you don't do UVIX today, we're going to be. I want the market to go up on Monday, so I need you to buy your UVIX.
All right, I'll do it for you, Mark. I love it.
If you don't do it, we are going to be threatening this 16 handle in UVXY by this time next week. So that's going to be on you. That's on you when we get up there. VXX popping a wee bit today as well. 36.70 right now, up about 3.5 points from where it was this time last week. Also putting up nearly 100,000 contracts. So it's a banger day across the board. The ADV is only 40,000, so we are well past that. If you're wondering what are folks slinging in VXX, they're not playing the fade game. Looks like it's the 38s expiring today. 38. Interesting. 4,100 of those going up for prices around, looks like that 42 cents. Let's look really quick. How high do we get intraday? We did kiss a 37 handle, 37.25. So maybe that makes those 38s for 42 cents a little more palatable. That seems like a bit of a rough one. But then again, if we get that next leg down, kicking in the second half, listeners, we could be kissing a 38 in VXX. Number 2 is about 4,000 of the 36s. These are expiring next week for about $1.70 for those bad boys as well. So they're not giving those away. Number 3 got 3,500 of the 35s. These are expiring today. 88 cents for those. Those are looking pretty decent right now. Number 4, 3,500 as well. That's kind of the magic number of the 37 halves. Also going up. These expired today as well. These were 64 cents. So when we got up to that north of 37 handle, looks like some folks went a little hog wild to the upside. Number 5, 3,200 of the 34s. And these are expiring next week for about $1.95 as well. Looks like all of that, with the exception of the 35s, was opening. So maybe they were bailing on some of those 35s. But interesting stuff, VXX. Mr. Meatball, anything else catching your eye in the world of the vol ETPs this week, sir?
They are, this type of move in VIX shows you how these guys can be sleepy, and then just wake up real fast, both up and down. And it just goes to show you that when we see that VIX correlation break, the market is telling you something. And don't go hog wild buying puts like yours truly.
Mr. Rhoads, anything else in the vol universe catching your eye you want to address with the folks? Now is your chance, sir. Seize the moment or forever hold your peace.
Well, not the vol universe, but I just because we haven't mentioned it, I took a peek at what the prediction is on the Fed's next move, and it's just bumped up slightly to above 90% chance of a hike at the next 2 meetings. I think it was right at 90 for one and a little bit closer to 80 for the December meeting. So I was just kind of curious if the fixed income markets were reacting to this, and they really aren't. If we do get follow through, they're going to be doing some catching up after Monday because they're closed Monday.
A lot of catch up to do. I think we all have some catch up to do on our vol predictions because it's time for the crystal ball.
It's time to peer into the future and reveal what the volatility gods hold in store. It's time to look into the crystal ball.
All right, listeners, let's get down to business with the crystal ball. One of those wild weeks, listeners. I don't think we had any 20 handles in our back pockets last week. I think Yeah, I was the highest at 17.45, which was looking good until it wasn't. And then Andrew was on the show last week. He had a 16.5. I think he was talking his put book. And then Russell was hanging out at a 16.96, almost exactly splitting the uprights there. Spoiler alert, no winners as we're coming into the end of the show. VIX cash flirting, tickling a 21 level, 20.99. We'll just call it 21. Close enough for a government work. Now just ticked up 21.09. Most of the major markets still selling off, listeners, as we're coming into the end of the show. NASDAQ closing in on 2.5% to the downside. S&P off about 1.8%. The Dow off 1.25%. So the sell-off getting a little spicier out there, and vol remaining about where it was, pretty close to where it was at the start of the show. A little bit spicier. We were at 20.25 when we kicked off the show, and that was coming down. We were at 21 right before the show. So we've been vacillating all over the place. Kind of a wild one. This is another one where we'll have to wait and see what the second half of the session brings. The markets are wild enough. We could close green. We've seen wilder things. Mr. Meatball, all that a long way around to saying nobody wins this week because no one had a 20 or above handle on their prognostication. That means you get to play and kick things off with your palindromic nonsense.
All right, my prediction is that Russell's going to make some money on his UVX position
because he's going to buy it. Okay.
And then we kind of calm down on Tuesday, get our druthers together, and end up with the VIX lower than where we currently are. So I'm going to go with 1881.
1881, an interesting year.
Same thing, Russell. Did I totally just carp you?
Well, it doesn't matter because I use a model.
And
we're going to be close to each other.
And her name is Gretchen.
What's your model?
Yeah, and her name is Gretchen. Gretchen says 1888.
Oh, carping me.
Did you?
Sorry, man. I wrote a model. I'm going to start using the model because I'm so freaking awful at this, and that hadn't helped either. But we're going to stick with the model. Yeah, I got to stick with my model for a little while. If I'm not going to follow my model in UVIX, I got to follow it on this.
There you go, and it gives you a nice person to blame. You can blame Gretchen when things. I'll
blame Gretchen.
When things don't go.
Mark, what do we do if VIX is 1884.5 on Friday?
And a half.
Yeah.
If we get the half ticks, then I don't know if we're going to that degree of specificity in the crystal ball. If we get there, we will cross that bridge when we come to that. Half ticks, listeners. That would be good stuff. This is, again, I did this. I don't like doing this too often, but I don't really mind where I am this week for next week. So I'm going to go back to 17.45, even though if we're kissing this level or above next week, wouldn't color me terribly surprised. All right, and that is going to do it for us on Vol Views this week. Fun journey. Mr. Meatball, or Mr. Rhoads, you need to put out an indicator on Twitter. You need to just tweet whether you do the UVIX trade or not. People will be waiting. Then we know how to act appropriately, because you say if you bought it, then we know, we stay away, we don't touch it, maybe we fade vol. And then if you don't buy it, then of course we dive in with both hands, sir. So we need that contrarian indicator on Twitter before the end of the day, please. Okay,
I can't just wait till next week and told you what I did after we see what happens.
No, we need it today. We need to be actionable. We need it 1 minute before the close.
You know what? I've always regretted fading my systems. I'm buying it right now.
Oh, there you go. He's in.
There you go.
He's in, listeners. He's in. He's in like Flynn. And if folks want to follow along with those tweets and get all your good goodies, where should they go? What should they do?
Just follow me on Twitter. My full name, Russell Rhoads. Starting to do a bit more input a bit more research out. That's one of the reasons I'm sitting in somebody's office at Purdue, because we've got a lot of different things that we're working on. We gotta get a few things over the finish line, though.
I will say you have to hold off on the Boilermakers till after the show next time, sir.
Yeah.
I know they hand you one the second you step on campus. Just drink it after the show.
Exactly. So.
And Mr. Meatball, sir, what's cooking in the land of the pit?
Yeah, we got Andrew doing something next Tuesday. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll tweet that out at Option Pit. But yeah, come see Andrew talk his in-the-money call trading system on Tuesday. It's going to be really fun.
I'm still excited I can pay him money to flash me 5 or 10 times in a dark alley. So I'm excited about that. But I get to see Andrew do something, I'm in. So Tuesday, listeners, check it out, optionpit.com. You folks have been doing more on the YouTubes as well. Is that Option Pit on YouTube?
Yeah. Just go into YouTube and look up Option Pit. Will pop up.
If you want to see videos of Andrew flashing you, head on over to Option Pit on the tubes. That's going to do it for us on Vol Views this week. If you're on the on-demand side, that will not conclude your broadcast week. We will be back later today after the closing bell with the newest addition to the network, the Hot Options Report. In the meantime, it is time for the official after party of Vol Views, known as Options Oddity. So if you're hanging out in the pro, we got a whole bunch of prognostications you folks have here. I see 16 handles, I see 18 handles, 7. You guys are all over, which I love. That's what makes a market. So we'll get into all that fun in a little bit on Options Oddity starting immediately after this show. So if you're not in the pro yet, what are you doing? TheOptionsInsider.com/pro. See you back here later today for the Hot Options Report, and then back next week, another episode of Volatility Views. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.